Welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. For today's video, we're going to be doing day 7 of our 12 days of, my 12 days of DnDecember. So I've got my rollers on screen. Let's go ahead and get into it. Also, sorry for clapping like right next to the microphone. It's just a twitchy habit of mine. So first we're going to roll a d20 for race. So that's going to be 17. We've done an orc. 15. Kenku! So in addition to kobolds, I also love Kenku. I actually personally played a Kenku wizard a couple campaigns ago. But this one is going to be a Kenku druid. Also good. Druid is like one of my main classes if I'm creating a character, just because I like to burn things. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the character creation. Hi, me again. I know you missed me. So I decided that I'm actually going to roll a d8 to determine what circle this particular druid is from. So I think circles are actually, like, specifically a 5th edition thing. I actually grew up playing 3.5, so circles weren't a thing. You could just kind of mix and match magic. But having the circles does kind of help you hone in on, like, what specific archetype of druid you want to be, so to help me figure out what aesthetic I want this druid to be instead of just generic leaves and leather. I'm gonna, like I said, roll a d8 based on the circles that I have on the table here, and if it's an 8, I'm just gonna pick a random one, but 1 through 7 are gonna correspond to dreams, land, moon, etc., etc. So let's see. 3. Circle of the Moon. Okay, so a Kenku druid, it's a Circle of the Moon. Now let's get started for real. So I've literally just opened the color palette, and can I just say how perfect this color palette is? Like, can you believe this? Oh my gosh, this is gonna be... love it. So to start out for this design, and also sorry, this is probably going to be my first like real voiceover for this series. So far I've just been kind of doing intros and outros. I just kind of wanted to have this overall like cool blue feeling. As a druid of the Circle of the Moon, which is a druid that I actually have played, she was a little different though. She was a werewolf, very different from a Kenku. So for her, it was kind of easy to get the overall look I was trying to go for, but for the Kenku, she does start out looking just kind of more wizard than druid, honestly, and she doesn't look more druid until I start adding the colors and all of the little bonus elements. Kenku, if you're unfamiliar with the lore, are flightless ravens, flightless raven folk, and so for her to be a druid of the Circle of the Moon is actually pretty appropriate, or at least from my understanding of Kenku lore and culture, is that quite a few, and especially my Kenku wizard, Echo, she became a wizard because she wanted to regain her wings. She wanted to regain her ability of flight. So for this particular Kenku druid to be associated with the Circle of the Moon, it's just, again, that kind of celestial obsession, that reaching for something that you can't quite get to because their wings were stolen from them. And I know for a fact that I mentioned this in the first time I did DnDecember, but the Kenku that I did was a Kenku monk, which still kind of fit into the character of a Kenku who wants to regain the ability to fly or something in that wheelhouse. So this druid is just a little different though, because you don't necessarily think of caves when you think of flight, but perhaps more so with like the kind of cold elements of the moon and space and things like that. So again, just kind of creating this overall dark, cold, almost like a foreboding sense of resignation, if you will. and that she has more so, even though she can't commune with the moon in a traditional sense that a bird would, being able to take to the sky, being able to commune with the moon, and the goddess of the moon, which would be Selune, to get her powers and to basically still have some sort of connection with the skies that she's been forbidden from. As birds and a lot of animals in general, and humans are not excluded from this, they like shinies, especially since, again, they're ravens. Ravens are infamous for liking small collectible shiny things, so I thought it would be appropriate to decorate not only her cave but herself with these different crystals like hematite and moonstone and quartz and these kind of wire wrapped baubles, and just give a little bit of whimsy to this mysterious, almost foreboding energy that she is presenting. Now I'm just blocking out the colors. For the first half, as far as coloring goes, I'm just kind of doing a crumb coat to figure out where I want things to go. And this picture has, I don't even know how many layers. Like, the fire is its own layer, the baubles are its own layer, the coloring and shading is its own layer. If you want to pause the video and count them, go ahead. I was just adding layers as I needed to. I got to do a lot of little fun things that I haven't gotten to do in a while, just because I haven't had a lot of time to draw, and now I'm intentionally carving out time to draw. And so a few of my favorite things to do are fire, stars, bubbles, and clouds. So any excuse to do those elements, like, absolutely. By the way, I know I keep saying I don't have a lot of time to draw, but I am open for commissions. If you guys are paying me to draw, I will make time. Just putting that out there. So now we're getting into the crumb coat, as I like to call it, which is not unlike what you would do in baking. You would put the messy coat on first, and then you go back in and clean things up a little bit, which I actually, as I'm doing this, I thought it was way messier than it was, and I actually paused to clean it up off screen because, like, you guys don't want to see me, like, nitpicking and cleaning things up. There actually wasn't a lot to clean up, so you're pretty much seeing where the colors are is what they look like in the end. I just added way more detail to it. So to make these look more like foreground elements, for the baubles and the fire, I just do a strong blur, Gaussian blur on it. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm saying it how it's spelled, but correct me in the comments if you feel so led. I really wanted the emphasis to be on the character and not everything that's going on around her. I wanted her to feel encapsulated in this cavern, and a lot of the things that are going on around her are very bright, even though she is wearing this bluish silver robe that would still draw attention. But the fire is, like, it's so bright. I go back over and I think I blur it a little bit more and kind of push it a little more off to the side, just so the emphasis is back on this Kenku druid character. Just blocking in a little more shading. Really trying to get the depth of this little cave that she's in. Now adding some of the ambient light from the fire. The smoke is actually this really nice little brush. I downloaded a set of brushes from Clip Studio, and I don't remember what they're called. I'll have to maybe look it up and add it in the description later, but it's a pack of about 5 or 6 brushes, and they each have their own little texture to them, and this smoke brush is just... it's just perfect. The whole pack of brushes is perfect, quite honestly. Like there's a watercolor brush in there and a charcoal, and it's just a really good set of brushes. And so I was glad to have an excuse to actually use them in this drawing, even if it's just one. I do a lot of messing around with different levels of lighting and layers and overlays and multiply, and trying to figure out how to make it darker without making it muddy or too dark, because I don't want to lose too much of that like good feather texture that I've got in there, and some of the texturing that I have on the toes as well. I think in the end it ends up being a good balance of having that sense of depth and darkness while still maintaining a lot of the integrity of the color and the line art that I've spent all this time working on. So I'm pretty happy with the end result. Honestly, this looks pretty cool too. Like, if I could just leave it like that, but I want this to be a finished piece, so I can't just leave it on just the blue and white layer, even though like I really do like the way that looks too. I figured to push the idea of this being a Druid of the Circle of the Moon, I could add some moonbeams in there, especially since one of my favorite spells to use is Moonbeam. It is so powerful and so deadly, and it's great. Here we are at the end of today's drawing. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the series as it's been going on. So of course tomorrow we'll be doing day 8. But until next time, I'll see you later, and have a weird day.